From our headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria, this is still Enterprise a Morning on Enterprise Television. And now to our main conversation for today. The Minister of Women Affairs, Uju Kennedy Ohaneye, has begun moves to stop the plan by the Speaker of the Niger State House of Assembly, Abdul Malik Sarkindaji, to marry off 100 orphaned girls who lost their parents to the many banditry incidences in a Mariga local government area of the state. The minister, who had reported the case to the police, petitioned the Inspector General of Police IGP Kayode Ogbetokun and sought a court injunction to stop the plan pending the completion of investigation, has alleged that the lawmaker plan is grossly unacceptable. However, the Speaker Abdul Malik Sarkindaji, who slated the mass wedding to take place on 24 May, stated it was part of his constituency project for his community, while assuring that the gesture was aimed at alleviating the suffering of the impoverished and pledging to pay the dowries for the bridegrooms and have equally procured materials for the mass marriage. In the studios with me today to discuss this and more is no other but Cyril Abaku. He is a journalist and also a public affairs commentator. Good morning to you, Mr. Cyril.
Thank you.
And welcome to Enterprise Morning.
I'm glad to be here.
I can see your chuckle. So, which means the story actually is a bit here or there, and it's funny. As a journalist, ordinarily I'm supposed to be right in the middle, not taking sides. But this is appalling, if you ask me. Don't you think that this is a big shame? Shame.
It is a shame,
democracy.
both on the proposers of the proposal and those who are opposing the proposal. Let's begin with those who are in opposition now. The Federal Minister of Women Affairs is reacting.
Okay.
They should have been proactive. They should have been on the front foot.
Okay.
Do we have data? It's not just Niger State. Now, because the Speaker made it public, we're shouting. What if it had not been mentioned? What if he was even born a leaf from what happened maybe in Borno or elsewhere?
That wasn't reported.
Who knows? Yes, that wasn't reported. Who knows? What could anybody have done? You have a situation in which the kidnappers, so-called kidnappers, took 100 women and went to fetch firewood in Borno State. That was the first, and up till now, the last we heard about that story. Nobody knows what has become of the women. That story just went away like that.
Is it because the media were complacent?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. If they had been brought back, it would have paid the army, state government, police, or for the federal government to blow it out and say, we have worked, we've brought them back. But nobody has said anything, which means those men are still in captivity. Now, I don't want to digress too much. Okay. The circumstances under which 100 women were going to fight firewood at the same time from an IDP camp and we are mass abducted is questionable. I don't know what the Minister of Women Affairs did about that. So if you have these women, children, and this is just one local government area, the Speaker said they gave me a list of 210 girls before it was streamed out to 100. So what we're dealing with here, and according to him, it was traditional rulers, religious leaders that approached him.
You could have proposed that.
Proposed the idea to him. And so instead of these girls who have been orphaned to be roaming the streets and to be wayward and useless, why don't we, and that they've all found suitors, which again I find ridiculous.
But don't you think that is in tandem with the religion and the tradition of...
Well, so if it's in tandem, I'm not taking one more step to say right or wrong. I'm building my case. The fact that the proposal, according to the Speaker, emanated from the leadership of the community, it means that this is indeed like your people saying, this is what we want. I thought that's democracy. Is that not so?
Definitely. Yeah.
Exactly. So, as Speaker, he is elected not as Speaker, but as a member representing
the
that.
Community.
So, if your people say this is what they want, what do you then do? This is the premise on which he is claiming to be undertaking this mission that, for me, falls short of good sense. Now, why do I say so? Like the minister has said, if you have up to 210 girls, maybe more, all right, who have been orphaned, confirmed orphaned, why is marriage the solution. I thought what they should do, look, the real vision of leaders of that place should be how to rebuild and redevelop the community. Marriage will not do that. How about education? How about learning of skills, crafts? How about assistance? How about rehabilitation? Somebody lost the father, lost the mother, not to natural causes, but to violent attacks and bloodbath, which means the person is carrying trauma on his or her head. And the only thing that they want to do now is not to rehabilitate them, not to maybe give them therapy, not to psychologically help them, not to educate them, not to empower them, but to do what? To send them to early procreation. So again, taking it one step further, I think that the real issue here is one of worldviews clashing.
Yes.
You earlier talked about religion, tradition. Well, I'm careful not to call them those very obvious names. I just call it culture.
Okay.
Because culture is all encompassing, right? It's people's way of life, religion, education, everything you want to think about. So I think it's a clash of cultures. Because in the one worldview, marrying off a girl at that early age is no issue. But the minister is not coming from that point. The minister comes from another civilization where a girl grows into a lady, should have gotten an education, should have gotten some level of economic independence before she can move into marriage. And how are we so sure that these girls are not underage? Like I said, that data should have been with the honorable minister. Data of these girls who have been affected. I don't know if that, because if they had, they would have. Then let us know who these girls are.
Yes.
When were they born? Yes. How old are they? What is their level of education? And why, again, like I said at the beginning, why wasn't there an intervention ab initio? Is there an ongoing program for people who are affected by banditry? And how is it that these girls were not undergoing that program until now that the marriage issue came up and the minister is saying that we are going to? So for me, it's both ways. Why is it that people who have been affected by banditry, if you went to IDP camps, we are talking about marriage and we are angry. In IDP camps, they are just, I don't know how to put it, when they say to, in my language, they say you kick it and the thing swallow. That's what's happening. You see harvest of births in IDP camps. They're just, the women are getting pregnant, procreating. Has anybody gone to ask questions there? Is that not an abuse of young girls and women's rights? Because they're in IDP camps. The stories we hear are that soldiers use food as a weapon to get them to. And then, on top of that, when was it CNN or one of these international groups came out, or was it AI, that came and said that there was a mass abortion program undertaken by the Nigerian army? They denied it. But there are deeper issues. And for me, I think leadership, anywhere leadership hasn't taken proactive steps and want to take reactive steps, is good. You can also come by way of a counter-attack to right what has not been righted in the past. But I think that such leadership also deserves a few knocks. Because your work as a leader is to think ahead, is to envision, and take steps early in the day.
Yes, taking steps early in the day, which is proactive, is accepted. But there's a conflict of interest here. The Child Right Act is still very debatable, especially as it works in the southern part of Nigeria and also in the northern part of Nigeria. The northern part of Nigeria still have it that a girl can be married off at 12. The Child Right Act is saying you can't do that until the child is well off, 16 and so. So there's a conflict of interest here. Now, particularly, I went through that particular story, and on the comment section, where it was featured on most social media platforms, some notable northerners have come to say Uju herself is not married. That why would she have that gusto to want to educate them on how to manage their daughters, because she is still Miss. So how do we make sense of this conflict of interest so we can universally accept that a fact is a fact?
No, I think that on that this is the attack on the minister, for me, was needless. You don't attack a person's privacy. You know what I mean? She's minister. Married or not does not mean that she won't have the powers to discharge her functions.
Well, they are actually doing that with relations to what
Of
she's
course, I
bringing to the
understand. I
yes.
understand. But I mean, it doesn't bring anything to bear in the argument. I saw a headline where she was quoted as saying people should come and celebrate her husband with her. She's Kennedy or Hannah.
Yes.
So her marital status for me is not an issue. Married or single is not an issue. It's really not an issue. The core question here is the matter on the table. Is it right or wrong? They will make a law that says a single woman should not become Minister of Women Affairs. Then we can deal with that. But for now, where we are is not a good place. The law, one law saying marriage from 12, another law saying, for me, I think again, it speaks to the disparity of, I mean, if that was even the case, it speaks to the disparity, like I said initially, that continues to drive a wedge between the civilizations that we represent. One in the south, you can't take it away. One southern, purely, largely influenced by Judeo-Christian Western values, and the other one largely influenced by Islamic civilization and worldview. Okay, but Nigeria is a secular state. Nigeria is not, the constitution, I think in section 35 or 30 something, I think is thereabout, or one of those 30 talks. Nigeria is a secular state, and where religion and the state seem to have a disparity, it is the state that prevails or triumphs.
Okay, which in this case
Nigeria defines adulthood as being 18 years old.
Okay.
Whether the state now has the power to assert its authority, whether state law, whether policy of state is viable, can assert itself and overwhelm other dissenting or differing opinions or whatever their inconsistencies, is now where the question is. So the question will now be, does the federal, can Ohana push through or pull through with this, with a resistance? I give an example. There was a girl on whom a fatwa was passed in 2001, I think. Something Lawal, if I remember. She was, they passed a fatwa on her. And I recall when Bola Ige said, nobody will implement a fatwa in Nigeria in 2001. So it's a long time ago. Bola Ige, then Minister of Justice, he said nobody in this country will execute a fatwa in this day and age. Okay, that is one. The second issue being that these girls, right, willy-nilly have minds of their own, have a will of their own, have emotions of their own, and I believe are mature enough, okay, to an extent, know whether they want to do this willingly or not. Whether they are mature enough to be married by whatever standard they want to use is a different thing. But, children do all kinds of things. They're 12 years old, 11 years old, even younger. Neighborhood children do all kinds of things. But even at that, parents have a duty to step in to say, this is wrong. Discipline them and, draw them back from the cusp of moral decadence. So, but if they were above the age of 18, and they have so decided that they want to get married, I think that if it was their choice to marry,
okay,
then there's really nothing Ohane could do about that, right? But whether the Speaker of the Niger House of Assembly will now turn that into a constituency project, that's another corridor for debate. How do you take state money, state funds? We saw it in Kano. When populism was pushed to the hilt, and Governor Bayusu was organizing mass wedding, 500 people. Come on. Is it because you're not working for the money? Because the money is coming as an allocation. The lawmakers, where in the law is it written that they should be given money for constituency project? And all of these not illegalities. How does a governor and this is the problem. How does a governor, if anybody was to help these girls, right? He should have been the chairman of the local government council. who should have called a meeting of stakeholders and say, this is a purely local issue, right? And say, okay, what is the reasonable level of support we can give? And for me, it shouldn't be marriage. It's art and craft learning, education, okay? Because, look, the point is this. Anybody who is not properly and thoroughly elevated in mind and cannot reason, think, question his environment as part of his process of making choices, it is to be taken that a crime has been committed against him. This is why not educating children should be a criminal offense in Nigeria. I stand by my conviction, and I said it time and again, if there are two things to urgently prioritize, not necessarily at the expense of other parts of the economy, but if there are two things that any government in Nigeria today must take extremely seriously, if our president or prime minister of Nigeria, two things, education and power will be free for all Nigerians. Because without this, you won't have a foot in the world to stamp your feet. How does marrying these girls off to now the husbands that they're going to marry, are they also orphans?
Now let's look at it. In as much as we take a look at this logically but superficially, why not let's maybe dive a little deep? This could be sensitive though, but allegedly we know of the unwritten laws in the northern part of Nigeria, where one renowned psychologist, Dr. Delbert Blair, once said that when people want to conquer other people, he said, never educate a person you are going to dominate. Right. Now, with all of this, understandably, logically, you are correct. But looking at the unwritten laws that we are not seeing, how do you think this can be pragmatic, drawn out from where it is to the position where it will be seen globally as an accepted phenomenon?
You will educate them by force. And anybody who stands in the way of that project will have to excuse us.
President Goodluck Jonathan did that. He built the Al-Majiri schools all over the north.
I want to assume he wasn't forceful enough, he wasn't assertive enough. But even anarchy has laws guiding it. Believe me, even anarchy has laws guiding it. Have you ever had those extremists who say things like, let the chaos be complete? You've not heard that before. They say there's chaos. Then they say, let the chaos be complete, whatever that means. But I do know that any man that has the capacity of force or of power to resist anything will require equal and superseding force or power to push him back. The territory belongs to the secularity of the Nigerian state. Do not impose any religion on another. That's understandable. Even religion, people should be free to make their choices in an environment where all religious practitioners are free to practice their religion, and then you allow those who are onlookers or those to whom you're marketing your religion or your faith are allowed to freely subscribe. Don't force it on anybody, but freely subscribe. But I can tell you that Jonathan had good initiative about the schools he was building, but he wasn't as assertive as a president should have been. So that was what he lacked. I won't lack it.
What do you think Minister Uju would do in this particular case, given the example you just gave now? How can she start being proactive in this measure? This is just for Maliga local government area of Niger State. It cuts across.
That's what I'm saying.
So now, so what do you think the ministry should start doing?
I honestly don't know how much she has for budget this year. Okay, that's number one. I don't know how much of it was earmarked for this sort of interventions.
But isn't it tied to the humanitarian ministry?
No. Women affairs.
Okay.
Is one. Humanitarian.
As a conduit.
No, the idea should have been that, and both ministries were headed by women. So they could have easily come together and work this out. But the other woman in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, the airport she traveled to, that she's responsible to travel to in Lokoja, is about to be built now.
Oh, okay.
So, and she's suspended because of theft, because of the Diverting Fund. These are the kind of things that that monies should have been voted to prevent or to intervene in. So I don't know how much Uju has in whatever. And so maybe she will have to liaise with some international agencies or donors or people like this, and then they can come together, FIDA and Co can come together, and then gather data, sister. Gather the this one that don't see. This is just one, like you said. There are many more, and there will be many more. So gather data, then make an intervention strategic. The idea is not to prevent those girls from getting married. Actually, the idea is that they must be empowered, they must be educated, they must be enlightened. Then whatever they want to do with that is entirely and purely up to them. That, in my view, is way to go.
Well, the truth remains, often say that when you train a girl child, you've trained a family. And the truth remains that the Child Right Act must be respected, must be obeyed, must allow to work in our country, in Nigeria. Those in the IDP camps are victims to situations they never called for. And I think it's very important that everyone does what they need to do to ensure that a girl child, are given the best of life and opportunity to excel in whatever form or shape they choose to do. I'd love to say thank you to Cyril Abaku for being part of our show. Thank you for clearing and making sense of our discussion today.
My pleasure.
It's indeed a nice one from you. I will also want to say thank you also for making our time to be part of our show today. Please do well to visit our website at www.enterprisetvnews.com. Also like, comment respectfully, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I'm Henry Igwebike. I'll see you tomorrow for yet another great time. Bye-bye.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.